Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the How to Life podcast. I'm Dr. Laura Jaggett, and thank you very much for listening in today. The goal of this podcast is to encourage, inspire, and teach about concepts and situations in the adult world that may seem a mystery to many who are younger, or to those who just may have missed that info somewhere along the way. This is episode number 7, and I have yet another fascinating and inspiring life story to share with you. Many people go through life living paycheck to paycheck, spending money without much thought and just living in the moment. And that's fine. There are many ways to live your life, and there is not one right way to do it. But it should be fun, and it should give you joy, not stress. Money should be fun and give you joy and not stress. With a little thought and the right mindset, you can journey through your life with purpose, being in control of your money and still having a blast doing the things you love, all while setting yourself up financially for the future. There are many ways to do this. And today, you're going to hear an interview with RANDI LEVENBUAM, who tells her story of how she managed to plan a financial future that allowed her to retire from her relatively modest income job at age 43. I love this story. She had a goal of retiring early, not knowing exactly what age that was going to be. She held the vision and made decisions and choices all along the way that kept her moving toward it. Prepare to be inspired. Welcome, RANDI. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. This is a great opportunity to share a little bit about things that have helped me, and hopefully they can help somebody else along the way.
You have the distinction of having retired at age 43. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it still sounds amazing to me, and I'm the one that did it.
That's so awesome. So we're all dying to know how you did it. But let me start with this question. What caused you to decide to retire early?
One of the first things that kind of planted that seed in my head was when I was 20 years old, I wanted to take a solo backpacking trip through Europe for a couple of months. And the job I had at the time really wasn't in a position to let me have that much time off. So I ended up having to quit in order to take the trip. And I had a fabulous time. And after returning from this trip, I knew I wanted to have many more of these types of adventures. So that's when I first made the goal of retiring early.
Did you have an age in mind at that time? What did that mean to you?
At that time, I didn't really know how to define what early was. But a few years later, I thought more about it. And I loosely put the age I wanted to retire at possibly 55. And so then I began taking actions to actually start funding that goal.
Well, that is some pretty forward thinking for someone at such a young age. How did you get that mindset? What was the financial attitude of your family growing up? Were they big savers, planners like you are?
I don't really remember finances being discussed much growing up, although I do remember a time, I think I was in my late teens, and I lived with my mom. I had a single mom. It was just my mom, my brother, and myself. And she was, complaining about her credit card bills and that she had balances on all her credit card bills. And she and I had a talk, and I asked her how much money she made. How much did she get from her job every paycheck? And then I asked her what she spent it on. And we went through all the things she spent her money on. And I came up with a plan that would allow her to pay off her credit card bills that she constantly complained about, while at the same time she could still enjoy a few of her pampering expenses. She liked to get her nails done. She liked to get her hair done. And, she really wasn't willing to give that up, but we came up with some compromises. And one of those was the frequency in which she would get her hair done or her nails done. And just by cutting a few little things or postponing a few little things, within a year after following the spending plan that we came up with, she no longer had any credit card debt.
It only
And that
took
gave
1
me
year.
it gave me a great sense of satisfaction that I could help her.
Had you been reading anything, learning anything about that, or that was your own intuition that said, let's look at spending and income?
I always read a lot of things, and I was always a pretty, like a planner and a logical thinking person. Those were just my characteristics. And I started to read some personal finance magazines, and I started learning some things. And so I was able to help other people with the things that I was teaching myself.
You were learning on your own. You were going to school. Did you go to college? Did you study finance? What were those early years like?
So I actually left high school after the 10th grade. I went to school in California, and when I was 16, they had an exam called the California High School Proficiency Exam that allowed you to take a test, and if you passed it, you got the equivalent of a high school diploma. So as I was able to pass that exam, and after the 10th grade, I left high school, and the following fall, I started at my local community college because no one was going to pay for college for me. I had to pay for it myself, so I had to find an affordable option without incurring debt by taking on a student loan. And I figured the first 2 years of college is almost always general classes, and I could take those at my local college. And I ended up getting a 2-year degree in liberal arts. I was working a myriad of part-time jobs and just sort of, exploring life. I didn't really know what I was going to do.
And when did you start looking for a full-time job?
So what happened was I was always interested in sports, and by that time I had been playing some softball leagues, and one of my softball coaches said, you should take up golf, and I said, golf's a stupid game. But I went with him at one time anyway, and I was hooked. I thought golf was the greatest game I'd ever seen after that, and I started playing every day. And so I played at a specific golf course in West Los Angeles and got to know the staff there because I was there every day.
Uh-huh.
And one day I was there, and they said, hey, you're here every day. Why don't you just get a job? And I had never really considered it. And I said, well, I like golf. This looks good. Sure, why not? The job was through the City of Los Angeles Recreation and Parks Department.
So this job was at what age when you landed this job with the
So
City
this
of LA?
job was around age 22.
Did you know that there were benefits associated with this job with the city at that time?
So I had done some homework, as I was going through the hiring process, and I found out that the pay wasn't great, but there were some other upsides. Because it was a civil service, municipal government, city government job, they had a retirement plan that would be what people might consider today old school, which means they offered an actual pension. So
Okay.
if you worked X number of years, they would give you a percentage of your salary in retirement. So the longer you worked for them, the more you would get once you retired. And there was a big formula, and I was trying to figure it out. You had to work so many years and be a certain age. And now I'm starting to see, wait, if I work 30 years here and I'm 55 or older, I can get a full pension, the maximum amount I can get. But I said I was 23. So if I worked 30 years, I'd only be 53 years old. I had to work 2 extra years. So now I had to work 32 years. I said, well, this is nice, but I don't see any way that I'm going to stay here more than a few years. I figured, this would be a stepping stone to something else, and it was just a way to get started.
How did you save your money at this time? Did you just have a savings account?
So I started doing 2 things. One, I started saving for the things that were going to be coming up in the next few years, like possibly a car. And I also want to start paying for this retirement. So these things that were on my horizon that were going to cost probably, to me at least, a lot of money, were happening at different times. One was probably going to be happening in the next, say, 2 to 5 years. I would probably need a new car at that time, and I'd want to do some traveling. But I also wanted to set aside some money for this early mid-50s retirement goal that was emerging. So the short term, the things I was going to need soon, I had to put someplace where they would grow a little bit and definitely not lose value. At the time, it was a money market mutual fund, which is really, it functioned like a glorified checking account. It just earned a little more money than if I had put it in a bank. My paycheck was actually on direct deposit, which means when I got my paycheck, it went electronically to my bank. I didn't get a check and then have to take it to the bank. One of the benefits of that is it usually got in a day earlier than the people that actually got a paper check. So I got my money quicker. And then from my checking account, I set up an automatic transfer from my checking account where my paycheck was sent every pay period to this money market fund that was going to fund these short-term expenses. So on the 5th of every month, X dollars would go, and X dollars would equal whatever I decided I was going to set aside. And as my salary went up, that amount that I would automatically send would also go up because I paid all my expenses before I got the salary just fine. So by getting a raise, it just meant I could save even more and fund things faster. So I set up these automatic transfers every month from my checking account to the money market account to fund my hopefully new car expenses and travel expenses. And then I had another mutual fund account, and that was for retirement, which was in my case probably 30 years from now. So I could afford to hopefully take a little more risk with investments that would go up and down in value over the year in the short term, but over many years should give me more growth and make my money grow faster than if I had it just in a savings account where I was probably going to get a fixed amount of extra money and interest every month.
So it sounds like you were socking away a lot of money in different accounts. Did you ever feel like you went without?
Nope.
How did you do that?
So because I was funding things that were important to me, I would check periodically, sometimes monthly, sometimes once or twice a year, to see how I was doing. Were these funds I was putting money into going up in value? And I had a very full life doing a lot of things that were fun to me that didn't necessarily have to cost a lot of money. So, for example, I played on a softball team in a recreational league probably 3 nights a week. There were a lot of free concerts in California where we would go to Santa Monica Pier in the summer with my friends, have a dinner picnic on the beach, and there'd be a free concert every week on the pier. So there were a lot of things that we could do to socialize, to play sports, that didn't necessarily have to cost a lot of money. The things that I enjoyed, I found a way to do them. One of the other perks of working at the golf courses was when I traveled, if I called ahead and say, hi, my name's Randy, I work for the city of Los Angeles at X golf course. Do you guys have any reciprocal provisions for me to come play your course? And many times I'd get to play expensive courses for free because I worked in the industry. I remember calling a golf course in Hawaii that probably cost $100 at that time to play, which was super expensive. There's no way I could afford to do that for a round of golf. And we got to play for free.
So you never felt like you went without, and it was fun for you to put this money away and watch it grow. And when it wasn't doing so well, move it. So you felt very in control of your finances.
It was really empowering to be able to say, I'm doing this. No one's doing this for me. I'm making choices. And for the most part, they're working out fine. And sometimes things wouldn't go as I'd planned, and I'd make a little correction and probably make lemonade out of it somehow anyway, and keep going, keep learning, and keep educating myself about finances and life in general.
You ended up staying with the city of Los Angeles for 20 years. Were there any other benefits that came in front of you as a result of your job?
So one of the things that one of my supervisors told me about was a college tuition reimbursement program. And he encouraged me to go back to college and finish my 4-year degree, which I had never done. And so what it was is, if I enrolled in a 4-year college program, as long as I maintained a certain grade point average, I think it was like a C plus, at the end of the semester, I could submit my bill and the city would write me a check and pay for it. So they basically would pay for me to finish school.
What was in it for them? Why would they do that for you?
So usually they want you to get a degree in your field or a related field. And that's what I did. I ended up getting my degree in recreation administration. And I had promoted by that time to become a golf course manager. And so that fit right in. And on the flip side, when I was going to school, they gave me college credit for working in the field. So it was a win-win for me. I was thinking this was pretty awesome. You're never going to lose educating yourself and getting a higher degree than you already hold. It can only help you. It can never hurt you.
After the degree, what happened next on the journey?
So I'm moving along. I'm funding these goals, and people that I know, my friends, are asking me to help them with their finances. And I started thinking about, well, maybe I could actually do this as a job or a sideline job. I could start helping people with their finances. And so I did some investigation, and I found out that there was this program for certified financial planners. It was an educational program, and then you had to pass an exam, and you had to have some experience in some related finance field. And I didn't know how I was going to get any experience while I was working a full-time job, and I really wasn't in a position to leave it at this point. And I found out that one of the fields of experience you could use for this program was doing taxes. I'm thinking, oh, tax season is short. It's like January to the middle of April. And I checked into it some more, and I found out that my local H&R Block had an education program. And if you did well in it, they hired you to work for them during tax season. And so I attended this course from H&R Block. So I did well in the course, and I ended up working for H&R Block in tax season for the next 2 tax seasons on my days off when I wasn't at the golf course. And that gave me enough to fulfill the work requirement. And I had now spent 18 months taking this very thorough, very tough self-study course where at the end of learning all this stuff about how to do wills and trusts and estate planning and insurance and investments and taxes, then you had to sit for this 2-day, 6-hour exam that you never ever want to take again in the rest of your life. And it had a very low pass rate, but I was fortunate enough to pass it the first time. And so now I'd done the education, I had passed their exam. I had worked 2 years for the tax people. I had been helping some friends and family with their finances, and I was thinking, maybe I can really do this. And the thing was, I was still working for the city at the time, so it's not like
that's brilliant.
Right. If this thing like goes to zero and it's complete failure, I still have this job, I still have insurance, I still have benefits, life is good. In the meantime, I'm just spending a lot of hours. I'm spending 40 hours at the golf course. I'm probably spending another, 25 to 35 hours trying to make this side business in financial services go. So, yes, I'm working hard and I don't have a lot of free time. I'm really not doing a lot of, quote, fun things because there's just no time.
Did you feel stressed about that or bummed about it, or you were prepared to
the stress when you didn't make a lot of money at the beginning, but once you did actually, make a success of it and have some significant side income, now this really gave me that much more I could put towards these goals, mostly of early retirement. So now, instead of maybe saving $6,000 or $8,000 a year, I'm able to put away everything I earned from the business except what I have to reinvest back into the business, plus what I'd already been saving. So now I'm saving probably 3 to 4 times what I had been. And that just, that gives you a big boost. At some point, I was making almost the same amount in both. So, I was trying to decide, should I stay with the original job or should I not? Now it's hard to give up the security of, I've been there so long. I'm closer to that magical pension that they're going to pay me money for the rest of my life for doing whatever I want to be doing once I leave them. And now it's getting to be harder to give that up. So I didn't have time to do anything with the extra money because I was working so hard. I might as well just save it, invest it, put it towards these goals. Maybe I could get there that much earlier. So because I had this side income, which was a separate business, it allowed me to set up a separate retirement plan just for the money I was making in this side business, all in addition to what I was already saving from my salaried job. So now I opened up additional a retirement plan for the business, and it has some tax benefits of being able to put it away and not count towards my profit from the business each year that was being taxed.
How old are you at this point?
Probably around 36, 37 years old. By this time, I had saved up enough for a down payment and had bought my first home, which was a condo.
How did you decide it was time to buy a house?
So you're always looking at the difference between how much am I paying in rent and how much would it cost me to buy a house? Because when I pay rent, I pay it every month and I'm never going to get anything back for it. And if I can buy someplace that I live in and that I'm either own or I'm working on owning it, I found out that was almost the same amount. If I could save a big enough down payment for my condo, the loan I would have to take out for the difference in the purchase price was almost the same as what I was paying in rent. And I was going to get some tax benefits of owning a home because our government gave us some deductions that we could take against our income for things like mortgages and new expenses like property taxes. So my cost per month for housing, from renting to buying this condo, was not significantly different. And in general, real estate values go up. So I was paying on a loan, a mortgage for this condominium that was likely to go up in value. This sounds good. When I'm paying rent, I'm just giving them money every month and I'm getting no more benefits from it.
You'd never see it again. What does your goal look like at this point?
So now, 36, 37, 38, 39, the business is going on. The house is doing well. There's nothing I really need for sure, and not a whole lot that I want, except now I'm wanting some more of my time back because I'm spending all my time at the golf courses and I'm spending my time growing this business. I had learned to get rid of the office and work from home. Clients didn't mind it a bit. So during this time, at the city, they decided they wanted to move me to other golf courses within the greater Los Angeles area. And they wanted to move me where my commute to work would go from 12 minutes to probably 30 minutes in the morning and 45 minutes coming home in traffic.
That sounds terrible.
That wasn't my favorite part. And there wasn't a whole lot I could do about it. So, I was starting to become less enamored with the golf course jobs with the city. And eventually, after a couple of years, it got to the point where I had sold the condo, I had bought a single family house, and I saw that when I sold the condo, I had made a significant profit. And I'm thinking, like you can buy a house, it goes up in value, you sell it, you make even more money. So I'm trying to create this giant money ball. Yep. And so when I bought the single family house, I had a 4-bedroom house and some friends suggested that they had a friend that needed a place to stay while he was going to UCLA, and I was only about 25 minutes from UCLA. So I ended up getting a roommate, and by having the roommate, he was paying most of the mortgage. And so my payment was almost the same as where I was in the condo, and now I had this much bigger house that was worth even more money. So this is going on for a few years, and I was about 43 now, and I was increasingly unhappy with my commute at work. And I was deciding whether to leave that job and just do the financial services full time. And so I had to do a little pen and paper exercise about what my choices were. And it's nice to have choices. That's one of the best things about doing all this saving and investing is it gives you so many choices. So now I found out that I didn't have to work 30 years with the city to get this pension and be 55. They had something called an early deferred retirement if I had worked 20 years. Well, I started at 23. I was now 43. 20 years, that's magic. And I said, well, what happens if I don't work the full 30 years and be 55? And it turned out that when I did turn 55, they would still pay me a pension even if I quit after 20 years. It would be a reduced amount over what I would have gotten, but all the rest of the benefits were the same. They would pay my insurance for the rest of my life, my medical insurance, dental, eyes, and they would give me a pension, basically a paycheck for the rest of my life. And that pension paycheck would go up in value every year based on the overall cost of living in the United States. So now I'm 43 and I won't get this pension until I'm 55. So that's 12 years without a paycheck from the city. So the house I had bought had increased in value. And I said, what happens if I sell this house now and I move to a place where the cost of living is less? And so I said, I kind of figured out what I thought I could sell my house in California for, how much I was making on this sideline financial services company. And then I thought about Las Vegas, because at that time I had developed an interest in poker, and you could do that there. And so I started investigating how much houses cost in Las Vegas. And I found out that they cost about 1/3 as much as they did in Los Angeles. So I think if I sold my house, I could buy 3 houses in Las Vegas, and I don't need 3 houses. So when I added that extra money to what I was still making with the financial services sideline business, I said, that's pretty close to probably getting me through that 12 years until the pension kicked in. So, I thought long and hard about, do I really want to take this leap and move to a place I'd never thought about living, to a place I didn't know anybody? All I knew was there was poker there and houses didn't cost as much as they did where I was. An additional bonus was Las Vegas is in Nevada, and Nevada doesn't have any state income tax. And California has a lot of state income tax. So that's another raise I'm going to get by moving to a state like Nevada with no income tax. So 3 things were looking good to me. So I said, okay, so basically my choice right now is stay where I am, work 10 more years to afford to live in Los Angeles, or take the early deferred retirement, move to Las Vegas, and stop the salaried job. And I'm thinking, work, don't work. Yeah, this is not a hard decision. And within a month of that decision, I had sold my house in Los Angeles. I sold it in 3 days. I bought a house in Las Vegas, and that was it. Moved to Las Vegas, and I had this side business that I really didn't want to grow anymore because I just didn't want to work that hard. I didn't solicit any new clients. I only serviced the clients I already had. So I didn't have to keep putting more and more effort into this, quote, side business. And eventually, after a few years, I sold that business and did other things, which was what I wanted to do all along from when I came back from that Europe trip when I was 20. I wanted to have the freedom, the financial freedom, to be able to explore some new interests, to maybe work if I wanted to, but they didn't have to be high-paying jobs because it wasn't about the money. It was about exploring some new things.
So you're 43 years old now. You've moved to Las Vegas and you enjoyed playing poker. How does that work with your conservative financial mindset?
When you work in financial services and helping people, oftentimes with investments, you have to analyze the risk that an investment has versus the potential reward. How much can you make if you are able to stomach some risk, some level of risk? Mm-hmm. So in poker, I'm an analytical, logical, unemotional type of player. It's not about gambling. I hate gambling. Way back when I was taking those H&R Block tax classes, my instructor ended up becoming a friend of mine, and he was involved with some local poker games in Los Angeles, and we got to be friends, and I started playing poker, ended up hosting a game. Talk about ways that you have fun. I hosted a poker game almost every week at my house, and I eventually got better at it. I moved here. I started playing poker. I ended up playing poker here for about 12 years. And in that 12 years, I had 4 losing months. And playing poker basically paid for all the insurance and the toys and the things until the pension kicked in at age 55.
And just from the story you've told me, you have a knack for turning all your adventures and activities and making them work for you. What did poker do that for you also in other ways?
It absolutely did. It opened up a lot of doors. I mean, I moved here. I didn't know anybody. And I was playing poker. That's how I was making my part-time income, if you will. And so I started making friends. A couple of the ladies that were in the group owned a poker cruise tour company.
That sounds like travel.
Sounds like poker, sounds like travel, sounds like cruises, sounds like fun. So I chatted with them and ended up learning how to deal poker. Worked in some casinos here part-time. I dealt at the World Series of Poker 1 year. So now besides playing, I was working in the industry. And now that I had some experience, I got hired in the poker cruise company. And I ended up going on 29 cruises over a number of years, maybe 3, 4, 5 cruises a year.
This is such a good story.
And it just, morphed from there. Those were my people here in Vegas now. They were all poker people. And it led to other opportunities. You just don't know what's going to come your way, but be open to those.
And make it work for you, which you are a genius at. How long did you play poker?
So I probably played 43, 53, probably for about 12 years, almost anywhere from 2 to 5 days a week.
And that carried you all the way until your retirement program kicked in.
Yeah. Oh. The pension kicked in at 55. I get a paycheck every month from the city. It goes up once a year. They pay for my insurance. It's like having a job and not having to work.
So what are you doing now these days?
So poker was wonderful. I ended up moving here in Las Vegas, sold the original house I bought, and ended up moving to a 55 plus senior community. And one of the amenities here was pickleball courts. And I got involved with the pickleball club up here where I live. And that was it. It was like when I went from softball to golf. Now I went from poker to pickleball. I'm a pickleball fanatic. And just last year, actually became a certified referee in pickleball, so that when I go travel to pickleball tournaments around the country, I actually get paid to referee the matches when I'm not playing. How's that about turning your hobby into more ways to make money?
I absolutely love it. How long have you been retired now?
I am 58 years old. It's been 15 years. So in a few more years, I will have been retired longer than I worked full time.
Wow. And so you have just had freedom for these last 15 years. And 43 is nothing. I know when you're 20 years old, you think that's like half your life's over, more than half. But you're just teeing off, Randy.
It's the best thing I've ever done. I mean, retirement for me was highly underrated. It's way better.
Your story was fun. I loved that story. And I want to have you back again for a future date to maybe define some terms and give us a little more expertise, particularly in investment. Would you be up for that?
I would love to do that. You got to help people along the way. You know, nobody does things all on their own. Somebody has helped you along the way. Give back, help the next person. So I'm happy if I can help the next person, or hopefully many people, to come along and give them something that will make their life turn out as much fun as I've had in mine.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I feel pumped. Like I want to go out there and take on the world just like you did.
I appreciate it.
Before we go, are there any magazines, any reading that you recommend someone can start reading to learn about some of these terms and methods that you used?
Today, I would probably spend more time on the internet with some trusted investment company sites. They actually have a lot of education available on them. I mean, I'm not going to be partial to a particular one, but I can say sites like Fidelity, Vanguard, American Funds are good places to start for education. And then if there's terms or concepts you come across that you don't really understand, Google is your friend.
So is this podcast, because I'm going to have you on here to answer all those questions.
Well, I think we'll have a lot of fun doing it.
For sure we will. Randy, thank you very, very much for taking the time to tell your story.
My pleasure. Hopefully we could do it again before too long.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I find this story so fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. I will definitely have Randy back to do maybe more of a Q&A session about many of the financial terms and concepts she mentioned in this interview. So if you're interested in being in control of your money and making it work for you, you're definitely going to enjoy that show. Do you have a suggestion for the podcast or for a mominar, which you can find on my YouTube channel, How to Life? If so, feel free to send me an email to drlj@howtolife.com. And if you're enjoying the show, please take a moment to give it 5 stars on Apple Podcast and maybe leave a nice review. I would really appreciate that. And make sure to check out the How to Life Mominars on YouTube. They are really short 3-minute video tutorials on how to do basic life skills. Please subscribe there as well. You can find the show notes for this episode at howtolife.com/007. Have a fantastic week, everybody. Have fun, be nice to yourself, and try not to worry too much. All is well. You got this.